Hello. Please share. Let me make sure if this thing is on correctly. Let me connect and then play some music while we wait for people to come on. I've been away for a long time as it relates to GeeTalk. We're here tonight to talk. Okay, let me look for music to play. Facebook, we have no copyrights. Please invite somebody to come. We got something to talk. We got something to talk about tonight. It catch my heart. It catch our hearts. It catch our heart tonight. We'll talk about it. Hey, make sure I let Facebook know no copyrights to this movie. I've been gone. It's been a minute since GeeTalk has come on with our Colo news. But today's something happened. With our Colo news. Today something happened that we must speak about. And so we're gonna speak about it. Today I want to welcome all of you. I'm not rushing tonight. Let me hold on one second. No, No copyright say, but let me put the math genius. You ready? Me and my brother will also here tonight.
The Power family.
We here tonight.
How are you doing?
I said, how are you?
Man, I'm under the weather, but we had to come out for a good cause.
Yes, and I was telling somebody today, this new coal, fresh coal, whatever it is, and that small coal.
And
I was sick.
And for us, it dealing with us.
No, it's not. I was sick for almost 9 days straight.
Yeah.
No work. I actually just I woke up this morning and felt better today and went to work. But I want to play welcome everybody. We have something that we want to talk about. We're not going to start right away. We want people to share. If you know, this man is a very not small man. This man is the director for math in Minnesota. Then I know, they show you that Koro News. That big man here, he know math. When you calculus, pre-calculus, trigonometry, algebra, that's small potato here. So when you see that man on it here, it means that he don't go on everybody's show. But I sister.
But I gotta show her, and I show her said that problem. Wait, you only not make it say I can't go spend time no more. Said that you not be all that problem. So
no, that love book close is spending time though. But I'm gonna play a music from Canvey Adams, Liberia will rise, because I think the topic, what we're gonna talk about, centers around the fact that we all want Liberia to rise from whatever we're in right now. So we'll play that music, and after that we'll start talking. Please share the podcast, let the people know that we have the math genius on tonight. So we're going to be talking important thing when he put a compass down and go around it with a, how they call it, Muna, I know how you manage with us tonight, Muna. We love you too.
Let the people music. Hey, you pa.
We here tonight. Hey man, what the music shut up for? Hold on 1 second. Okay. No more strangers. It's on the rising. Many people might not be calling me talented. Liberia is on the rising. Liberia is on the rising. Canvey Adams. Alright, Liberia, rise. Your time is now. Oh yeah, with you. Oh, with you. Hey, I with you. Liberia, with you. Liberia is on the rising. Liberia is on the rising.
God says you are on the rise of all that we shall hearken to his command. It is then that we shall rise, we shall pursue, we shall overtake, and we shall conquer all of our adversaries, and we shall shout at last, the Lord star forever, the Lord star forever. Oh, land may flow over land and over sea. Desire it, Lord, never uphold it forever. And shout for the Lord star.
That was Canvey Adams, Liberia, a renowned Liberian gospel artist. I want to welcome you this evening to a very special edition of GeeTalk. Today, Pa, we'll be flipping in and outside the English. We'll be talking because I colloquial show here, but because we get important person here, we'll talk good English and we'll switch to colloquial. But we wanted to bring a topic on tonight. I wanted to talk about it. You can already see what we're going to be talking about, saying Liberians, mob justice is wrong. We need to stop it. There have been 2 incidences in recent times about mob justice that we're going to be talking about, some of the things that we've watched, why we think it is wrong, and also something happened today. We're going to be talking about what occurred today. So I'll let Cesar talk say a little bit about himself. I told you the man and a small man, a math man. You lot of math then what you were doing earlier that I had a man doing the man a math for Minnesota, a math director for Minnesota.
Let's talk about the people more violence than you fight. But on a serious note, though, just to underscore what you're saying, Glenda, you know, we joke around a lot. A lot of people might see us posting a lot on Facebook, and sometimes the seriousness will bring to certain issues. And the issue of vigilante and mob justice in Liberia is becoming too profound, and it's becoming an everyday activity. And for me, and I'm sure for you, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is not about politics. It's not about who's in power and who's in governance. It's just about how can we talk to our own people, the everyday citizens, to become protectors of the law and become defenders against mob justice. I know sometimes, you know, it's really hard in the moment when you've been the victim of people stealing your property and people breaking into your homes and you're feeling unsafe. And you find an alleged perpetrator and you just want to vent out on that person and just do everything you want to do to them. But you got to think about it though. Is there real justice? Is there real justice when you just beat up somebody and sometimes kill them? Is there real justice? So for me, I think I want to underscore that I understand and sometimes empathize with people who have been violated when their homes are broken into and their properties are stolen. But equally so, this is not justice when you decide to take the law in your hands. So I think it is incumbent upon all of us, to continue to ensure that we defend laws and that we ensure that people who are caught in violating the laws are turned over to the police and turned over to the right authorities in government to prosecute them.
Thank you, Zeze. I think it is important also for us to emphasize that, like Zeze, it is not the right way to go. You can't continue to take the laws in your own hands, even if you know for a fact that the person is guilty. This trend that we now have in Liberia is wrong, and we can speak directly about Liberia because we've seen series of events. So many things have happened that we see people take the law in their own hand and say, "Oh, the man was a rogue. He stole something, or he stole my motorbike, or he stole my car tire." Still doesn't make it right when you take the laws in your own hand and you punish that person and you beat him up. It's wrong. But it's almost becoming, what is even more sad is the fact that Liberians have become tolerant to this form of life. We've become so tolerant, going at it. This where people used to run away from trouble. When people want to start confusion back then, when I was growing up, it would be like, you don't even want to be involved. You don't even want to be around trouble, because when somebody see you there, they're calling your mom or they're calling your pa. Now people are there, they don't even care that someone has a video of them or that people are there. And Liberia is so developed in the social media world that anything you do, someone has a phone and they're going to capture you. So it's like, I want us to look back and see, how did we get here? And like you said, I don't want us to, or anyone, if you're watching, I don't want us to blame any government, because Liberia has been downing itself over the years past. will keep regressing or retrogressing or whatever that word is. Will keep going down. So we want to say, how did we get here? How did we get to a place where people can be so heartless and not care when they see people hurt other people? How did we get to this place now where we've become so tolerant of mob justice?
Just, and I could be wrong here, but I think in my lifetime in Liberia, the issue of just street violence and how, like you said, we've become just immune to it as everyday Liberians, or it's just, oh, there's another fighting what again, let's go about our business. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just stop with people who are not educated. If you've seen of recent, it's even going to the University of Liberia. Mm-hmm. Educated people, people who attend the highest institution of learning, who are considered the learned amongst us in Liberia, they themselves, have not become sensitive to the issue of violence. And so for me, I really struggle, but I think this has to do with the fact that we are a traumatized nation, my sister. And I don't mean that in a negative way or in a defamatory way, and I hope I don't offend anybody's sensitivity. But there's this thing called historical trauma that you pass on. So people didn't necessarily have to be born during the war to be traumatized. Mm-hmm. If their parents were traumatized, they pass that on. It is similar to what happens here to the diaspora Africans, the African Americans, right? Their ancestors were slaves. They were kept as enslaved people, and their trauma is being passed on. So unless and until, as a people, we really decide that we're going to have to work on this and find a way for national healing. In Liberia, Glendale, like you can be you must say can be walking in red light marking. I just joke, I say roll. You see how many people were abandoning the things and try to stop who they're going to go beat. This is not who we are as Liberians. The culture, our moral fabric that was built into us by our ancestors. This is not who we are. But how did we get to this point? For me, I want to believe it's because we haven't dealt with the traumas of the war. And there's a lot of traumatized people walking around, including some of us here who find ourselves in the diaspora. I always laugh at my friends. I say that is why you'll find a bunch of Liberians having a conversation, but they're yelling so bad, like it looks like they're about to fight. Yeah, it is the trauma. Mm-hmm. It is the trauma. It manifests itself in so many ways. And sadly, some of the manifestation is when we met our violence against people, simply because we feel we've been wrong.
Yeah. And I think that's true too, that we've become so intolerant of one another that we always look for the bad in situations. It's like I like the example you gave for the University of Liberia. I'm from the University of Liberia. And yeah, there have been one or two instances where they even ran behind people in the government, like Serena Cephas. Well, some of us, I would say when I saw it first, I laughed, but then I had to consider, was it the right thing that they did? To those people, to some of us who encouraged them or who also chanted along, who shared it and who applauded those young guys or young ladies, whoever was involved, it was wrong. It was wrong. And we have this has to claim the attention of all Liberians. This is not the way we should go. This is not acceptable. But the other part about the mob justice is, like you say, I believe it is trauma. And I believe that some of us have not healed from the traumatic experiences we've had. So we built up a resistance to be kind. We built up a resistance to be able to let things go. And so the smallest thing someone does to you, you become extremely, extremely upset. But we have to get to the place where we can say, and then I don't even know if we can't blame any one government. Nope. But it's almost like we can blame us as Liberians, because we are responsible for the things that we do, and we are responsible for the things that we allow. So we can only blame Liberians for what is happening to Liberia, because Suffice it to say, if it's one government, that government had Liberians in it. If it's a government we can point to, like sometimes it's almost synonymous to the we are government where you compare Kush. Where Kush didn't understand, where it maybe have been another name. But people always say, oh, the Kush that we are government. No, people were smoking. I grew up with some of my relatives and smoking cocaine, ganja. They used to take it in. My grandmother, I remember vividly, some of my relatives would plant it in her flower pots. And some Saturday morning when she cleaned it, she would get so upset. She will, that crew on my son, she would dip it incorrectly. And then trash those things away. But these things is a trickle down effect. We've just we've gotten worse to the fact that, and I want to say, it's like, how can you, in your right mind, be somewhere where a young woman is beaten mercilessly? I don't even want us to show the pictures because it's all over. Mercilessly. And both women and men watched. And nobody stopped anybody. They continue. It's like the mob justice is definition of mob justice, according to Wikipedia, is when people feel that someone is guilty and they take the law in their own hands. And you become lawyers and you become the policeman. But let me ask, do you think the reason why people, why Liberians have resulted to becoming their own lawyers, does it have anything to do with the fact where they don't trust the law officials?
Well, yeah. When people lack confidence in the judicial system's ability to deliver swift and unbiased and fair justice, and people might be inclined to take matters into their hands. So I think one of the things we need to work on, and I don't think it's the first or the last. I think it has to be done according to Emma Sawyer concomitantly. I think what has to be done is we have to enhance access to justice and access to free trial, speedy justice.
Yes.
Because I don't want to be deaf here. I know there are communities where people feel like they are always victimized. Look, Glennie, I know young women who would get up some mornings just to realize that somebody have broken into their house. You know that violation, how you feel to be violated when somebody, a stranger, has broken into your room or into your house and has taken everything that you want, and sometimes at gunpoint. I was a victim of armed robbery during the Ellen government. I almost died in Liberia. They busted my head. I had stitches in my head. And my neighbors, one of my neighbor's son was accused of being one of the perpetrators, and they were all arrested. And the neighbor was walking around saying, "Well, I was lucky that the man didn't kill me." And there were my family members were very, very irritated about that. So I understand what their feeling is. On the other hand, I'm not trying to pretend like I don't know what their feeling is from people who have been consistently victimized. So I understand that, but that is the reason we have laws. That is the reason we have punishments laid out in the law. And I completely understand when the law is not working as fast or as fairly as people want. So to answer your question, yes, I think one of the reasons that fuel the need or the appetite for mob violence is when people start to lack confidence in the judicial system, in a fair, speedy, and impartial justice system, you know. And so, yes, I get it. But one of the things we have to start doing is to start educating our people that every Liberian ought to feel an obligation. Yes. An obligation to prevent mob violence. You have to see that as one of the requirements of citizenships. Just like you know it is your right, your God-given right to voice your opinion and speak up and to vote and have an election. There are no rights that don't come without responsibilities. It should be your responsibility as a civilized citizen of a republic to prevent violence. And I think that it's going to be upon all of us that have a platform, or all of us that have people that listen to us, to start to, however way, gradually educate our people on the need for letting go and letting authorities deal with things. and getting back to that place where we start to once again trust the authorities and hold them accountable.
Yeah, and I also think thank you, Jose. I also think we should also, irregardless of whether we trust the police people or the social people or whether we trust the law enforcers, that should not be a caveat to taking the law into our own hands. It shouldn't be. So if they're doing it wrong, and we also go and compound upon it and take the laws in our own hand, how do we look at that situation? It's like it's still wrong. It's still wrong. I know that the system is like, and then also with the law enforcers, they also have a responsibility. And the reason why people will continue to escalate the growth of mob justice in Liberia is because they see the policemen down the street begging for $5. Then when somebody go see your money, they say, "Oh, that man I will can't call." That man who by the time you see me, say, "Give me small thing." But so we have to get to the place where Liberians are saying no. We're not responsible for the inability of the government to take care of its citizens. So mob justice should not be the result of the fact that the government cannot take care of its citizens, and because they don't trust the law enforcers, so they do things and they take it upon themselves. This is wrong. People are being killed. People are being killed with no justice. I really wanted to do this this show where I had Hawa Metzka, because I always refer to her, because that lady is a serious advocate. And I wanted to do the show on Saturday, but I was sick. But then something happened today. I'm like, we have to talk about this. But Hawa Metzka, there's so many cases she talks about.
Yeah.
Very passionate about what she does and the advocacy. And you'll hear some of those stories. No justice. This other one died, no justice. And there have even been cases where the government has been involved and still no justice. And so I want, let me just read what some of the comments here. Dwight is saying, we got here because kids are raising kids with no disciplines. Parents have become afraid of their children because they are their providers. What says you about that?
do I let it throw gas on everything on mine? But my own brother, you follow Dwight with throw gas. But Dwight is right though. I mean, all joke aside, I think the thing he's speaking to also is, in our society before the war, there was this reverence for parents, right? Because predominantly parents were the income earners. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't still cases where there were children earning for their families, but I'm talking about the majority of the time. And so parents had control over their homes, and they were raising kids in the Liberian custom and the Liberian values. And I remember, if you call anybody on the 11th Street or 12th Street, they will tell you that begins to be here. Everybody will be me. Because when you do wrong, before even your Oma come from where the first people that are saying you, they're whipping you for the wrong you don't do. And then when you go report to your Oma whoop you. But nowadays, that doesn't happen in Liberia. And I'm not saying about abusive kind of whooping, right? But Dwight has a point, is how can we get back to where we are actually back to raising our kids and teaching them in the houses how to respect laws, how to respect the rules out there. And yes, if the government is not doing our part, we have a way of holding them accountable. That's when we protest. That's when we protest either by exercising our Article 15 rights or by voting them out. But look, you struck a point. If you are the judge, jury, and executioner, then sometimes you end up applying the penalty that doesn't fit the crime. Let's say somebody is a petty thief. They stole somebody peanut, maybe a $10 peanut, and you hear rogue and people grab that person and beat them to death. Well, is the penalty for $10 theft death? It is not. And one of the things I think, if people really understood what the criminal justice system ought to be about, that's why we got correction centers. People go there and we try to handle what led to those things. There are some people who steal just because they're hungry. Do you remember the story about that lady who stole a bag of rice?
Yes. Yes.
Somebody is stealing just because they don't want their kids to starve to death. I am not excusing that, but I'm saying if we find out the root causes of some of those things, which happens in prison, which happen when people go through the justice system, then we can be able to try to fix those things. But what would have happened that day if they had beat that poor woman to death? So my thing I'm saying here is not that people are trying to, people sometimes accuse you of trying to defend criminals. No, I'm not defending criminals. Anybody who violates the law ought to face the full weight of the law by
Yes.
the law enforcement people, not by me and by ordinary citizens.
Yeah. And you make a great point, because it's almost like, and some of these things when they happen and you watch these things, and then you hear nothing from the justice ministry. You hear nothing from the police. You hear nothing from, well, AFF, they're probably not involved, but you hear nothing. But social media is so polluted with these videos that some people, and I'll tell you that some people, they live for these kind of videos. And it's like, this is not the mindset we should have, where we see people getting beaten, almost killed, because somebody say, oh, somebody stole something. He stole something from me. And I remember back then during the war, or just before the war, we had the night watch people. But even if they caught people, they were not beating them. They were not, if they caught them, yes, they were probably grossing around when you roll. But nobody was so brave and so empowered into wickedness. It's just really sad. One of the things I want us to talk about is, I want us to look at this, and I have not been able to watch the video, and I'm sure you heard about it. The video about Dede Simmons, the young Liberian lady that was mercilessly beaten. Yeah. I could not watch the video whatsoever. And yesterday was Dede's birthday. Imagine the agony she went through. True. Why they're saying there is no press release, nothing. It's like it's acceptable in our society. The citizens are acceptant of what's going on, and the government also does not come and say, if we catch the next person doing this, we'll prosecute them. They just let it go, and they just let the news about mob justice to simmer. It's like you're cooking something a nice tabagi, and just spreading, just smelling all over the place, and there is no punishment. There's no statement, nothing that comes to say we want to say, yes, we heard about this, but this is the wrong way, or the police is handling it. If people are caught doing this, no press conference. It is just okay. In other countries, developed countries, Liberia should be a developed country. In other countries, you hear somebody in my Malay community, and when somebody shoots somebody, they will send you text message all night. Lock your doors. So passing around. The next thing you know is somebody gets shot. The police is out. They're issuing warnings to people to be careful. They're looking at the suspect. But we watched Dede Simmons, and I'm going to share her picture only because I want us to remember her as a young, vibrant woman. This is Dede. This is the young lady that they beat. They mercilessly beat her to an unrecognizable level. And still today, I don't know what the Liberian government has said. I don't know what statement they've issued. I know that Spoon TV talked to her and her daughter. I know that she's in Ghana getting treatment. But it's like yesterday I saw people posting happy birthday, and I couldn't bring myself to say happy birthday to her.
What is happy about their birthday? I don't. Yeah, I saw it.
How is it? I hear that her spine is broken. I know that Hawa has been working with the family. There's so many people in the background connecting the families. I know that Dr. Chinoweth, Francine Chinoweth, has also been in contact. Spoon TV has been in contact. Other people I'm only saying just a few people who I know her family. She have family members that we're friends. And one day another thing that we're so we've become adaptive to is spreading bad news. Let's talk a little bit about that. Is this woman is already beaten, and the only thing we're waiting to hear is that she's dead. I will not go political on this.
Oh no, I will go political on this.
Yes, and the only thing we need to talk about this woman is already beaten. We're not praying that Dada will survive. We're not praying that her aching bones will heal and that she'll be able to walk. This lady was beating. I hear that her spine is broken. Constant headaches. I watched her on Spoon TV. She was in tears. She said, I don't know what I did to her. She said, Liberian women are wicked. In her own words. She said, Liberian women are wicked. That they stood there, they saw them beat me, and they did nothing. How have we become so tolerant of wickedness? We are participatory, because this is the thing. If you're standing there and they're beating somebody, you're present, you become a part of it. Because even you watching it, and you're not stopping it, it means that you're saying, yes, continue. Let's talk about how we've gone to this place where we now are so engulfed in praying for people to die.
I think the first place we start is people who film stuff without taking any action. I think we have to criminalize that in Liberia.
Yes.
If I see something happening to you, Glenda, and the first thing that comes to my mind is not to help you, but to take a camera and press record, there is something fundamentally not connected up here. I mean, I don't care how people take that. That is just my thought. If I see you in distress, my first action as a logically thinking human being is to help, not to take out a camera. And so, yes, it is good to have citizen journalists. I get it. I love it, because that's the only way we get to know about these things. Mm-hmm. But people should be willing to help. Mm-hmm. And I also think, look, the othering of people in Liberia has desensitized us to an extent where we're willing to dehumanize people, mm-hmm. to take away their humanity, mm-hmm. which just gives us the license to be so mean and cruel to them. I'm coming back to this data issue. Because when people started to politicize it, and then people went in their various political camps. Now, if she's in my camp, I empathize. If she's not in my camp, I don't care. She was a thief. Yes. She should have done everything.
Yes.
This is where everybody who has a following, the political following, every political institution has to take it upon themselves to educate their people about what it means to be a Liberian. Just because you and I are on the same side doesn't mean when I see you dying in the streets, I don't lift my fingers to help you. But yes. If you think back to, I was just in the elections. It was happening every side. Mm-hmm. Look at what happened on the Somalia drive right before the election. Mm-hmm. If you go back, look at what happened to Sisulu. Mm-hmm. Look at what led to two lawmakers, one of them my own cousin by blood, and the other one an intellectual who was a teacher at Carver's Grade, leading dueling factions to the University of Liberia campus. Mm-hmm. Why? So for me, I think this is where we have to go back. Mm-hmm. And start to put some of these responsibilities on the shoulders of people that mm-hmm. have the ears of people. To whom much is given, much should be expected. Yes. If there are a lot of people who listen to you, you ought to be careful with your speech, and you ought to use your speech to educate people. But in this America is what happened here, Glenda, when I can other you, when I can look at you as a conservative or a liberal, or I can look at you as, you know, your lifestyle. It's not my lifestyle. If I can other you, then I'm able to harm you, and I'm able to excuse harm that is done to you. And that is the thing that is seeping into the Liberian consciousness
Yeah.
now, my sister, because now we can say this person is an opposition. Therefore, if I am not an opposition, whatever happens to that person, I can excuse it. I can cleanse my conscience and I can go to bed. And the other way around, that if I am not in government and that person is in leadership, whatever happens to that person because they support this political group, I can cleanse my conscience of whatever harm happens to them because I have just othered them. They are now the other. They are not like me. And therefore, I can go to bed sound. So to answer your question, how we got here, the people praying for people to die, is because we have gotten to a point where if you're not on the same team as I'm on, whatever that team is defined as, I can dehumanize you, and I can be okay with you dying.
And I want to follow up with that because I think and Dwight is not here tonight, but I want to say something about you, Dwight, and I. Okay, we may not have been on the same faction politically, supporting the same people. Because I remember at one point in time, me initially, I didn't have anybody I was supporting, but I was a sympathizer for Mr. Cummings because people, one of the reasons why I sympathized with Mr. Cummings and I felt like he had a right to run is because people were saying, oh, he just coming. Why does he need to run? 2017, I supported Joseph Boyka wholeheartedly. But then when Mr. Cummings came, and then the fact that Mr. Cummings also picked a woman, I was a sympathizer, but I was not a supporter of ANC. But when you look, I want to stress this point because Dwight is not here. So Dwight is ANC. I am now Joe Boyka. You, John Joe Boyka, I mean, almost the same time when I did, because I remember talking to you, he said, Glenda, you said, Glenda, no, this is not where I am.
Yep, I was with Google.
Yes, good. What is now showing about the three of us, me, you, and Dwight, is that we are human beings first.
Yep.
Dwight is from ANC. And it would be difficult to see some ANC people who even want to come talk to me, a Boyka supporter now, to even do this. But for us, it was significant. Like today when I saw, what I want to talk about this lady last, the lady last. But just the fact that you, Dwight, and I can do a call, can connect. I connect with you and I connect with Dwight. I was even vexed because I went to go call Dwight and I went to call you and your number is in my phone. I was like, bam. It means that we're family. And I went to call Dwight. I'm like, why the hell is Dwight name number not in my phone? Why would I be calling Dwight put on Facebook? And so I call him. When I call him, the first thing I said, brother, I don't understand why your number not in my phone. That I have to call you on Facebook. But and to your point, we cannot continue to dehumanize ourselves. Because if you're doing it to another Liberian, you're doing it to you. And if we stop dehumanizing issues and people, then it says that our concern is about Liberia and not about any political faction. So I applaud the fact that the three of us, and then even when on the post, when Dwight posted and I went on there and I told you, oh, I already made a connection. And then you said, oh, Dwight said, oh, Glennie, or you said Glennie has already connected. It meant that if one person has already done the connection, come on, let's work together. Let's do this together. So the change, and I always say this, the change that Liberia needs and the change that we seek after as Liberians starts with us. Elections are over. We have to be able to do what we can to rebuild and rebrand our country. And this year tonight, that three of us from three different factions can come together and say, mob justice in Liberia is wrong. It puts selflessness above everything else. But I wanted to say, I know Dr. Francine, and if you're here and you're watching, Dr. Francine have been asking people to send letters. Right now, Dada is in Ghana, and they're trying to see if she can get a visa to be able to come to the States to get treated. This young lady, and people, her spine is broken. She's just laying there. She has a sister who is
Are they sending, Glenda, are they sending the letter to a particular congressperson?
So they're sending a letter to the Congress, but they're also sending, I think they're sending copies to the American embassy in Ghana to be able to grant her a visa. The reason why she needs a visa. One of the things that we also did was I spoke to Francine. I also connected the group with our representative in what's the lady's name? The Liberian representative in, I forgot the place. Hawa lives in that state. I can't think about her name right now. But if you know, and if you anybody, whoever can do a letter, Francine, I'm supposed to be calling her later. We'll share the information. We want to see what we can do to be able to help that.
So the reason I ask is that if the letter is going to a particular congressperson, because these people advocate based on if you are their constituents.
Okay.
And so if we know that particular congressperson, yes, it's okay to ask every Liberian to send a letter, but I think we can target Liberians that live in their constituency. And we push them to send more letter. And not just Liberians, but friends of Liberians. So that's the reason I asked, because we could be effective in doing that targeting for them. And we could just, because nowadays you can pay because when I ran for office here, that's what we did. You can pay $30 and Facebook will allow you to just geographically map out where you want to send messages. So we could grab the message and just send it to that geographic location to everybody in there. And then we can just ask Liberians to reach out to other non-Liberians, and they can just flood their person's office with letters. And that person will see all the letters coming from their constituents, and they will build up more pressure versus if I'm in Minnesota sending a letter to somebody in DC, they will see it, but it doesn't carry the same urgency. That was the reason I was asking.
And you make a good point. I just went back to our text, and it's true. All of the letters, most of them were asking people to send a letter to Sarah Jackson Lee in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
So in Houston, Texas, because that's the geographical location of where her sister is, that is where they want her to be able to come. So Sarah Jackson Lee is the person. Her number is 713-655. For those of you watching, 655-0050. The other number is 202-255-3816. This is where Congresswoman in the area as to where Dede will be hopefully coming. Her sister has left for Ghana to go and see what she can do to get her sister, but it should be on the hearts of all of us Liberians to see how we can help. And we'll talk to you some more to say.
Let's talk in the background, because I went to grad school in the Houston area. We have a huge Liberian community in Houston.
Yes.
We have a very huge Nigerian community in Houston. There are a lot of Liberians that go to universities and colleges in Houston and work in the Houston area. We can leverage all of those university associations and all of those Liberian and Nigerian associations in the Houston area. I still have some contacts over there. Dwight, as a matter of fact, has a huge following in Houston.
Yes.
I think we can plug in all of those and get those people in the Houston area, our colleagues. But let's talk in the back and see how we can organize that or get some of those messages.
Definitely. Dr. Francine had reached out to me, but I've been kind of helping. I'm not really fully because I haven't been well. This is the first day I've really been out of my sick bed. But we have to do what we can to be able to help Dede. And when you and to those of you who've seen both of the pictures, or the pictures of after she was beaten, or to Dede before, this is what Dede looked like before. And just imagine that woman that was stripped naked in front of men and women and mercilessly beaten. So there's a video I want to show. I hope I can share my screen. I want us to watch a little bit about this video, because this video today is the reason why Zizi and I and Dwight It's why the reason why we are out. And also, I want to also compliment Will Debo. So Will saw the video. I posted it. He also is Will Debo, DEBOWILL. He's on Facebook. He has a huge following. He has now put the video on different platforms of what we saw today and asked people to watch it. He would have been able to join us tonight, but he's on another Zoom. That's why he could not join us. But we're going to give what we saw today a lot of publicity, because this is the Liberia we're looking for. This is the Liberia we want to see. Let me see if I can share my screen so that we can see this video today.
You don't care boy, I care about the police station. You're not right, you're not right, you're not right. No, you're not right. The Lord take care of why you quiet, not quiet, not quiet, that's stupid. I want to be quiet. If you don't care about the police station, they want to what? You care about the police station, you care about the police station. You're not right, I will report. I will report a human being here. The Lord said you're supposed to be better in your eye. They're supposed to be better in your eye. They're supposed to be better in your eye. They care about the police station. They care about the police station. Why do you want to do that here? You care about the police station. You care, you share the life, you share the life. You share the life. Why you got to do that here? You care about the police station. Anything you do, you share it. You care about the police station. You can do what it. The law says you can't show, you should tell the person over to the police. Nobody get right to do anything to the boy. Nobody get right. You carry into the police station. Everybody knows that the boy do wrong, but nobody get right to do. So your poor best friend, the boy, but they put in your eye. He's still me too. Nobody get right. Nobody backing him. 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 You know they live in a letter go viral. That letter go war, what it? You go call police. You go call police. You go call police. Nobody get right to do anything to him. Nobody get right. Nobody get right. Nobody get right. The law said when you can't show, you say they want to the law. Nobody get right. For the best way you out, not help. For the best way you.
And this is what we woke up to this morning. To say you can hear me, I want to make sure. I hope I didn't turn us off. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, this is what we woke up to today. We saw this video of this very young, courageous Liberian woman. And if you watch the video, it's shared on my page. Like I said, Will Debo has also shared it. It's everywhere. The video now has had, I think, 40,000 people watched it already. And in the midst of mob justice, this young lady stood up. And she was recording from beginning to the end. And she said, I will record. I will record. People tried to stop her. At one point in time, she also said there was a police officer there who was trying to take her phone. But she was persistent. And one of the things she continued to say to them was, I'm not saying what he did was wrong, was right. But you are not the one to prosecute him. When they say when somebody do wrong, take them to the police. Take them to the police. And when we look at her situation today, and we compare it to what happened to Dede. Now, mind you, there were people there today also who was also watching, and she was the lone voice amongst everybody there today. She was the only one there today who was saying, stop this. She could have gotten beaten. She risks her life today to stand up. So for me, when I saw the video, I was so proud as a woman, as a mother, to see this young. I was afraid because I watched the video last. I think somebody actually sent it to me after it was live, but I still decided to watch it. But to see this young lady risk her life, her name is Rachel Freeman, risks her life. I want Sister to talk about the video, talk about what he saw, how he felt, and then we're going to be talking about Rachel later and what a hero she is.
So there is one quote. There are so many quotes in there, but there's one of them that stood up to me. And she said, and I quote, "I will recall that human being here." You see what I spoke about when I said when we dehumanize people, when other people, when we take away their humanity, it gives us a pass to treat them in however way we want. She was bringing that back to their consciousness.
Yes.
Because for the way they were treating the dead fellow, they had already stripped away from him his humanity. They were looking at something other than a human being. That would be the reason why you pepper spray somebody in their eyes and in their anus. That's the only reason you do that. But she was bringing back to their consciousness that human being here. I will record that human being here. This is not anything else but a human being like you. That struck me when I watched that video over 10 times already, Glennie. That stuck in my psychic. I don't know if she understood the psychological impact of what she was saying, but it struck me on a higher, deeper level. That human being here, I will record that human being here. I am not saying he didn't do something wrong, but I'm telling you that this is a human being. And by implication, we ought to treat him like a human being.
Yes, with respect.
Look, I saw that video and I'm listening to this shrill voice, almost an annoying voice. And I think she was being annoying.
Yes. Like she was annoying people and she was being irritant.
And that's what is required sometimes in these situations.
Yes.
Like I was like, yo, man, she got an annoying voice. But then when I'm watching the video, I'm like, well, yeah, and that is the voice that was needed to cut through that. Because at some point, there were fellas that were putting their shoulders up to block her.
Standing up to her.
There were people like trying to block her away from going through. And she kept yelling, I will recall. I will recall. And at some point in time, I seen some elderly women come in the picture, and I'm thinking they are going to talk to these guys to settle things. But no, they were just there to see.
They were just standing there.
And even adding up to say, it really say, oh, you know, my meter here, as if to justify that they should continue brutalizing this fella. So for me, really, the biggest thing that struck out to me was Rachel's ability to try to recenter this whole conversation and say, yes, I'm not excusing what he did. I'm not even saying he did something good. But what I'm saying is the law says you should turn them over to the police.
Yes.
Nobody got a right to treat him the way they treated him. A human being here.
Yes.
For me, that struck me. That human being here struck me because he centered that this is a human. That it doesn't matter how much wrong he has committed. We don't dehumanize him. We turn him over to law enforcement, like the law says.
Yes. And there's a comment that Dwight, I think I've lost the comment that Dwight, let me share. He said, people should get rewards for doing the right things and be ashamed when they do the wrong thing. This is it. This is it. But what is interesting is that video has already been watched 40,000 times or whatever. But still today, we have not heard anything from the Liberian police or the Justice Department or the Attorney General. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What what Rachel did today was heroic. So I woke up and somebody had sent me the video and I watched the video, and instantaneously I went into her inbox and I said, Rachel, what you did today, thank you. I say, I want you to know that what you did today showed the human side of Liberia, that we still have Liberians that are human beings. And it's like you say, even when you close your eyes or you close your ears, you will hear her saying that human being here. So what if he stole? This is not how we should treat him. She was very, I spoke to her maybe 4 or 5 times today. She was extremely humble. Extremely humble. She said what they did was wrong. And she said, I couldn't just stand there and watch it. She said, myself, people have stolen from me. But we cannot continue to be around these kind of things and think it's okay. She was humble. She said, thank you. She appreciated the fact that I reached out to her and talked to her. I made sure to give her something for Christmas because this is huge.
She deserves it.
She deserved it.
Yep.
And she was so appreciated. These are the stories we want to hear from Liberia. When people do good, when they do human things, we need to applaud them. And the fact that she did that, we're so appreciative of Rachel today and what she did. That was just amazing. Amazing that she did that.
Yep. And what that showcases is just, it showcases how just a single individual, armed with just a smartphone, but with a determination and a conviction, can put herself at great personal risk.
Yes.
To ensure that she defends the right of a total stranger. A total stranger. But understanding that this is a human being. And so for me, she deserves whatever you give her. I too, I'm always, for me, I get all these text messages, inbox from people I don't know. I'm very careful, but I reached out to her and I told her thank you. And I told her, I said, oh, we're trying to do something. She said, oh, yeah, you can go ahead, but as long as you don't need me to be there. Because again, it speaks to her, trying to be humble about this was not something I did for pay. But this was something I was doing because I think that's what human beings are supposed to do.
Yes. And that's what she kept saying. That's what she kept saying. She said, I didn't even think about the fact that I was at risk. Yeah. I didn't care. She said they were pushing me, I was pushing them too.
Yeah.
And I said, I will record. I will still record it. Nobody should take my phone.
Yeah.
And one of the things she said to me when I called her this evening, I said, Rachel, I want to say thank you. You are a hero. You are a young woman hero. And like you said, there were other people there, other women we saw. No action from them. There were mothers. There was one woman that they kept showing. No action for her. So I did speak to Rachel and I said, we're not paying you for what you've done, but we want to appreciate you. So is there a number that we can use in case we wanted to send you something to say thank you for what you've done? She said yes. And I've shared her number. Yep. That's a mobile.
Let's put that up on the screen, Glenda.
Yes, yes. Let me see. So I've pinned it there. Her number, Rachel Freeman, is 231-88-153-1811. Please, let's celebrate this young woman. Somebody gave her a title to this. They said you can talk. Let me see if I can make sure. Let me add it to this banner here.
Yeah. So the cat is out of the bag because the whole reason was I saw that video and I was moved. And so I'm sorry, I'm still not well. I was moved, but I share it. And Dwight is a buddy, but we have partnered on so many things. He built a free school. We're partnered. We've raised money for orphanages. So even though we have political sides, that's why you can always laugh. I say when you write a thing, if I don't want to constructively engage, I don't write on it because we got to keep that relationship. and him and I will understand each other so well. So when I shared that, actually it was on my page, he saw it. So we always like to up the ante. And he's like, my man, you the educator. Can we raise money to pay her school fees?
Yes.
And that's the kind of relationship Dwight and I got. Even when there were the counting meet, him and I bet on who was going to win. I said, well, if I win, you will have to pay somebody tuition in Liberia. And he said yes. And that was what we went on. So we have this thing where we bet on helping people in Liberia, which is healthy for me. Him and I were good at that. So he reached out back and said, my man, can we raise money for her tuition? I said, absolutely. And that was how we started roping you. And then we're roping a bunch of other people. We got some other people who've already made a commitment. I got some strong brothers and sisters that when I reach out to and say, hey, man, we need this, we're getting it. And so what we are going to be doing, you can help out by sending, just a thank you, a little thing right now to Rachel, because in Liberia, when people do wrong, we tend to highlight it a lot. And so when people do right, we need to start enforcing those good behaviors. We need to start elevating those good behaviors in our society. And so for me as an educator, one of the things I'm deep into is empowering people. So we're going to be coming back on live. We're going to plan this thing carefully. And we're going to come back to raise money to support Rachel, even if it's one semester tuition to pay it.
Yes.
So right now, I want to plant that seed in all of your heads. Please remember, when you're spending your holidays, we will hope after your holidays cool down everything. We're coming back here. We will raise that because right now they are competing needs. We don't want to come to you and say, oh, but I only get 10, I only give him $2. No. We'll wait, you finish paying your 10, we'll come back. But we need to ensure that a person like Rachel can say, other people can see and say, yes, I will do exactly that next time. Next time I see something happening, I will disrupt it. I will interrupt it. We have to have Liberians who feel obligated to disrupt these kind of things.
Yes.
And coming from a young woman that could have been, I'm looking at a woman, she doesn't even look strong. And I'm looking at guys that were in that place. And so many times there was this particular dude that kept going up to her face, like almost antagonizing her. And she never backed up. She never backed up. She held her ground, kept saying, you won't do anything, do it. I will keep recording and it will go viral. So the cat is out of the bag. That's what we plan on doing. We plan on helping out Rachel. She didn't ask for help. We have not been the ones paying her tuition before, so we're not trying to be disrespectful to her. All we're trying to say is thank you. That's all we're trying to say is this is a behavior that we want to see replicated.
Yeah. And just to your point, I like that you made that point. To a point, I called her maybe about 2 hours ago, and I said we were going to do this. We wanted to say thank you to you publicly. But there are other things we are going to be working on with you. I said, I wanted number one, do we have your permission to talk about you? She said, yes. Do we have your permission to share your picture? She said, yes. Do we have your permission to raise some more money for you? She said, yes. So we've been given the permission by Rachel. I want to share her picture, this very courageous young woman. See how small she is? She was so empowered today by humanity, by the fact that she was a human being. And like she said, this is something that she said Dwight and I will partner on. We will make sure that I believe that Rachel is in LU, whatever she needs, we will help raise funding for her tuition. We will continue. We hope the Liberian government or the Ministry of Justice or the civil rights people. We hope somebody can recognize this young woman for being like the women in Liberia, the Females Association of Lawyers, some group recognize this young woman for what she's done. Zizi, I want to thank you. If there are any closing thing you want to say, like you said, we will be coming back. We were planning, we're coordinated well. I'm sure other agents will be talking to Rachel also, but I will reach out to Debo to see if he wants to help us also, so we can partner on this. We want this time to appreciate someone for doing good. This reminds me about the young man with the $50,000 story.
Yep.
And we appreciated him, and the government stood by him. We want people to also applaud this young woman in the midst of men for charging up today and say, try me.
Yeah, standing her ground. Yep.
Yes, she stood her ground. So thank you everybody for watching GeeTalk. We hope that you too, she's on Facebook. Go find the post. Go tell her thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate her for what she's done.
Just follow her.
What she did today was to save somebody's son's life. No matter the crime, she saved a life today. In fact, 2 lives. Because she saved his life and her own life also.
Yep.
Because she was at risk. So thank you all for watching. Until whenever we decide to come back on GeeTalk to talk about issues that matter to us, we'll be back. Say feel better, please.
Yeah, I will. And in closing, that all just remember that human being here. If we can just remember that as
that human being here.
As we deal with one another in our disagreements, that human being here. Let that be the focus of our mind. Thank you so much.
We're gonna run with that. We're gonna either use that as our hashtag also to raise money. That human being here as our hashtag to be able to raise funding for Rachel. But Rachel, we want to say thank you for everything. Thank you to Liberians. We are a people of love. And at some point in time, we have to heal from all of the hurts and the aches and the pains and be able to be human to one another and not dehumanize one another. Have a wonderful holiday. Eat a lot, sleep a lot, stay out of trouble, and be very supportive to one another. Thank you. Good night.
Don't be your gender page if you stay on the trouble. Good
night.